Hi.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. There's
There's
always that
always that.
moment.
Yeah.
There's always that moment where you're like, what's happening? Is it gonna work? I
I
really hope
know.
so.
It's like that panic of a little bit of
Exactly.
everything here. Yeah.
We're both looking and like, are we gonna connect? And it says send request rejected. And I was thinking, oh no, what's happened? Have I changed the setting?
I know. Oh, that. Yeah, it is those seconds. But I mean, why? Like, you see these things. Like, why should you panic? Like,
I
probably.
know, I know. Oh, we're gonna get into it from the beginning, aren't we?
Yeah.
We always have a choice. Do we
Yes.
panic or do we just breathe and let universe do what it's supposed to do, you know?
I mean, it's technology. You will have issues like that.
Of
So.
course, of course.
Okay, so what I do with everyone is you need to present yourself because I
Sure.
like people saying what they want to say about themselves and not me
Okay.
being giving like a little speech first.
Sure, that's no problem. So my name is Mina. My Instagram is at the child consultant, and literally my Instagram is a reflection of me. I've spent 12 years working with children, little beings. And my mission is to help children feel seen, heard, and understood, and really help bring out their inner power. I have been doing confidence coaching and confidence based tutoring with children's age 4 to 11. And recently, in the last year, I have become a children's author, writing a series of books on emotional literacy uh, based on emotional intelligence that was helping children bring out again their inner power and addressing and including diversity, as well as things about the environment and being sustainable, and just, yeah, it's an all-encompassing book. I thought, what sort of book do I want to leave for my children when I have kids? What sort of book do I want to see in libraries and whatnot? And I wrote it. So yeah, that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
Does it look something like I have a book here? I think it looks like this one.
Yes, oh my goodness, that's amazing. That's
Okay, I
hilarious.
got it. I didn't have a chance because it got here today. I read the first
Wow.
pages of it. But I am gonna get, you see, if you say something on a live, it's there after. You can't take it back.
True.
But I am gonna get all of the books that are coming out and the ones that are already out. And I thought this one I will do a little Instagram, give it to whoever wants to comment and be like, look, I want it, or we will see how we will do.
That's amazing. That's
Yes,
amazing.
and get the word out there and like everyone to know about you. This book, because I found your page, like I don't know, I was looking for something. I think it was on Beauty Mark, and I think it was
Yes, Amanda. Yeah.
yes, and I think it was a photo that you were tagged or something like that. And when I saw it, I was like, wow, this is the books we need. Giveaway, yes, Maria, we are going to have a giveaway. Here's the one.
Thanks for the helping us with the word. Yeah, that's
Yes,
true.
I
I
was
think
like,
she's going
oh
to be
my
the first
god.
person commenting as well.
Yeah,
She's on it.
she works at a school with children which are autistic.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Interesting. So linked to my most recent book, which came out
Yes. You
yesterday,
need to let us
which I
know.
can show you because it's here. Kaz's Power. And this is Kaz, my little Kaz. It's funny, a lot of people ask me, are these based on children that you know or have worked with? And actually, I was very mindful not to use any names of children I've worked with. So no child I've ever worked with, as until yet, have been called Alf, B, Kaz, or Dia. And also, I've different aspects of the children kind of resonate with some of the kids I've worked with, but none are based on a particular person. I mean, if anything, this book has been inspired and kind of, it's the only book that's dedicated to someone else rather than my inner child. I dedicate it to my sister because she's on the autism spectrum. And so the dedication of this book, if I can read it for you if you like, because
Yes,
just to
yes,
give a
yes,
little sneak
please.
peek for
Yes.
everybody, um, dedication is here because usually the dedication is to my inner child, because my inner child is what helped bring out these books, that I gave her a voice and now she's helping me so much. So the dedication for Kaz's Power is to my sister. You taught me that your autism doesn't need to change, but rather our mindset and perspective need to transform. You may share the same spectrum with others, but you are an individual. To be understanding, we must first have empathy for ourselves. Then we can begin to appreciate and accept you and all beautiful beings on this planet. So just to give you a little insight, because yeah, all of Kaz's behavior is similar to my sister's. It's been based on her, and I kind of wanted to put a disclaimer at the beginning that, you know, even though she's part of a spectrum, even though she is classified as autistic, it is, I mean, you know as well because of your work too, that it's saying meeting one autistic person and one person with autism doesn't mean you've met them all. It's like it's such a broad, and it's difficult to explain, you know, because when I was younger, I had a lot of people saying, oh, you know, your sister's autistic. I have a friend whose son is autistic, or oh, I know the person's neighbor's, you know, grandson or whatever.
And always that, yes.
And as much as I see it's coming from a beautiful place, they're trying to say, I understand you, but what they follow it with then is, does she have any special abilities? Is she really good at math? Like, how is she with this and her memory? And it's a slight misconception there. And for me, I don't take it personally. I don't see it as anything, a point where I should scold the person. I look at it as opportunity to educate and say, actually, no. My experience with autism is purely with my sister only, and maybe other children I've come across. But it's for me to say that all autistic children are like this is completely misinformed. And I think that's a message to get out there, that the more books that they have with main characters who are on the spectrum, it gives you a more bigger idea of the diversity of the different characters, the different, you know, personality traits. So, you know, it's so individual. And I don't know if that's been your experience too.
Yes, totally. Because I've been working 3 years now with autistic. They are adults, so it's not younger ages, but it's totally different because I've worked with a variety of people the past 3 years. So it's not like, oh, I only have a group of 5 people that have been working for the past 3 years. So it will be from other care homes that they visit the activity center, or so it won't be just from the company I work. It will be from other companies coming into the activity center. So I saw a variety, and I didn't have one that's similar to another, because people think, as you said, oh, because they're autistic, they have, yes, there might be some similarities in like small things, but it's like saying, okay, you're English and the other person's English, so they're similar. Because
100%, that's a great example. Yeah. I might have the accent, but my cultural background and what a typical English person looks like is not quite fitting, you know, the criteria. 100%. And I think that's why when I decided to write these books, a lot of my friends were actually surprised. They said, oh, how come you chose your main character, Alf, the first one from having the power of self-awareness? Why did you choose a character that had a limb difference? And, you know, it wasn't until I sat down and after everything, because I wrote it when it was the height of the pandemic in the UK, when it was the first lockdown. I was working from morning till evening. I had all these clients rushing in because they, you know, their children were anxious. They needed help with the tutoring. The schools hadn't got their system together. So they were all kind of depending on piling on top of me. So while everyone was living their best life, you know, that kind of pandemic, oh, you know, I'm sitting in the garden or I'm taking up a new hobby. I was like, one after the other, and trying to keep things together for everyone, as well as, you know, figuring out things for myself. And then after that, I was reading so many books, and there's so much online resources, and they're fantastic. But every time it came to like trying to help a child with their emotions, it was a book that was great, like good, and some that are great, but it didn't quite, I don't know, it just didn't solidify it. I wanted that kind of magical side of things. It was very technical, you know, like so and so goes and plays with so and so, and then they make up, and then this is what we've learned, type of thing, as opposed to the magic element, the fiction element of, what if it was a superpower? Why do superpowers have to be something that only superheroes have? Why can't we as human beings have them? And then it just, that started igniting things in my head and my own work, working on my inner child as well. And I just thought, I need to find something. I need to find, write a series, create something, because I'm a very creative person. I needed to make something, and I did, and I just came up with ABCD, the names of the kids' three-letter names. So fits the alphabet. Alpha, B, Kaz,
Okay, I
Dia.
didn't
Nice.
know that.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I put little things in that people who have this kind of, the ones who always notice every detail.
Yes.
For them, my books are like a fairground, because they're like, oh, this, and oh, I see this. And then for people who, really like stories and like the kind of creativity, they appreciate it too. So there's something for everybody. But also the main message being that in the inclusivity. Why can I never say this word? Sometimes I stumble over my words. You must have seen in my reels where I'm like, diversity, inclusivity.
Yeah.
Why are these words so big?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, so just generally the inclusivity of the books, and saying, well, what sort of characters do I want to see? What characters actually, the main inspiration was, what have I not seen? Have I seen a child with a limb difference in the book? No. Have I seen it in real life? Yes.
Yeah.
So why are they not in books? And, have I seen a child with a Port Hawaiian stain? Yes, 100%. But was that written about? No, I didn't know what it was. And it's such a shame, because some books tend to use them as their inner power, their superpower. So my birthmark, my limb difference, my autism is my superpower, which is fine. But then it doesn't, for me, it doesn't do the job of normalizing it. Because if we see these characters in these books and they're the superhero, and it's like, oh, by the way, Kaz is autistic. Oh, by the way, she's got a hearing aid, got hearing loss. It's like a side, like, in the brackets type of thing. It's not like the entire book is written around their difference, or what makes them, what makes them comes from inside, as opposed to what they were born with, or whatever else they have that makes them kind of feel like they stand out in some ways. So that was really key for me as well, to make sure that I did it in such a way that it wasn't all around it. Even on Amazon, I don't necessarily go into too much depth about the fact that it's got children with all these amazing differences. It's more kind of like, you read it and then you're like, oh wow, I didn't know that this kid, has this, and it's great. And the beauty of it was, and actually the reason, one of the things I learned, which was really interesting, that you would think that kids would pick up on it straight away. Like my experience was like, kids look for things that are not of norm, and they tend to pick it out. Like, the kid when you're walking along and goes, "Mummy, why is she in this?" Or "Daddy, why has that person got such a big tummy?" And that kind of embarrassing moment with the child. I thought they'll pick up on it straight away. When I read the books, I read about 20 kids, ages 4 to 11, and it wasn't until age 9 or 10 that they said to me, oh, when I said, what did you notice about the characters, rather than what's different? They said, he's got a limb difference, or, she's got a birthmark. But all the other kids from age 4 to about age 8, as I said, didn't even notice. They didn't even say anything. They said, oh, he was really kind. Oh, it was really nice what she did. Or, he's a really good friend. And I thought, wow, like, so this must come from how I'm obviously in psychology, I've learned this as well, but really seeing the application of it when a child doesn't, pick up on these things that as adults we do. So that was really important as well. At the back of my books, the note to kind adults, I say, by the way, when you discuss this, don't say what was different about him, what was different about her. It's what did you notice, and see what they notice, and don't correct them. It's not a correct answer. Like, what did you notice? Oh, he's kind. Oh, no, his arm's missing. No.
Yeah.
that's not what this is about. But you have to mention it as well, because as we said, as adults, we're quite wrong and right, and quite like, what's obvious to us must be obvious to everyone else. And with children, we have to realize there's always that opportunity for something else. Always hold that space for something else. But anyway, yes.
And 1 minute. I saw Maria wrote that they're all different individuals, like neurotypical people. Yes, exactly. We agree on that. What I saw, because when you did the live with at Beauty Mark's Instagram, what you said, and I was like, yes, This is it. That's so true, because you turned around and said that usually in films and everything, the person that's in a wheelchair, the person that has like a limb difference, it's always the evil person.
Yeah, oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, just look at like, I mean, even one of my favorite films is The Hunchback of Notre Dame. And now I look at it with fresh eyes. I'm like, that's really messed up because I've seen people like The Hunchback of Notre Dame, you know, who have that same sort of physical features and The Hunchback. And it's a shame because he's not a villain, fair enough, but nor is he the one who's celebrated. And that's and just recently, I mean, come on, the whole movie of witches and the whole limb difference issue that, you know, they were portraying the witches with like limb differences and shaved heads, and people like this exist in society. So it's, I think the thing that we should make into kind of the villains is our own minds, is our own thoughts, how a completely bog standard person can go and do things that we are shocking because of the choices they make, as opposed to the way they look being associated with fear. That was a big thing as well. It's like, gosh, all these differences that we see in society, and we're associating them with things to be afraid of. And actually, these people are way more kind than the average person because they've built their empathy. They've had to be empathetic with themselves to accept themselves in order to, you know, function and thrive and have confidence, let alone, you know, the kind of average person who struggles with accepting themselves, you know. So it definitely I wanted to tackle that as well, because I just thought they need to be the main character. I don't want them to be the person on the side or the kind of, you know, ticking a box, have I been inclusive? Like, I want the books to really kind of, it hits you in the face. And Alf has been such a hit, honestly. Everyone really loves Alf. Out of all the characters, I think he's the kind of top favorite for Alf's power, self-awareness. And then B, and then obviously Kaz is about to be let into the world, so let's see what everyone thinks about him. And then finally Dia. Sorry?
I think he will be a big hit. Are you gonna go through all the alphabet?
This is the $1,000,000 question. So I am actually eating my words now, the fact that I decided to do a 4-book series. Like, it wasn't just, oh, Mina, you know, why don't I write a book? Most people are like, let's just write a book. Okay, cool. And I'm like, no, let's just write a series of 4 books, and let's do it within a really short period of time. That was my mindset. That was really like a smart move of me.
That's fine.
It's exciting, it's great, but then the work behind it, and then the stress and all this stuff, it's worth it because I love it. But I did think after I get to, and I was talking to my illustrator as well, she was saying, I was saying, look, come when we do Dia, which is going to be pretty much, this book is now out in the world and I need to publicize it, but we've already going to start looking at Dia because we want it out by June. So the entire set is available before the summer, and then especially for Christmas, it's something I want to put out there. But then it's like, okay, so A, B, C, D, but then what about the rest of the alphabet? And I think subconsciously I have been kind of priming it to see, does everyone like these characters? Is it something that the world needs? So far the feedback has been amazing and I'm really happy about that. But when it comes to the rest of the alphabet, I think my idea is to take these 4 characters, because they're the 4 pillars of emotional intelligence for children, and get them with the other characters they come across in the alphabet to help very specific problems, like specific issues that children face. So everything from like I guess body image to dealing with their sexuality, to coming from a mixed home, adoption, foster care, all these types of things. I have enough letters in the alphabet to try and go through all of them. So, and I think it'd be good because they come as a force. And now that by that time, all 4 characters will have their superpower, so they can help the children find their inner power. And it's kind of, I think, it's going to be a long-term thing. But right now, I think just for this year, 100%, it's just going to be the 4. So,
okay.
The long of the short.
You never know.
I know, I do know. I literally, because I want to think it out and think it through too, because, you know, once you start choosing different topics to deal with, you need to be really, I want to help a lot of people, so I kind of want to be mindful about it, especially most of these topics I don't have a lot of experience in. So I need to be careful how I handle them, how I approach them, and what the characters are going to be like, what they look like. You know, it's very these four characters came to me pretty quickly. Actually, I was really in tune and in a state of flow, but I don't know the rest of the alphabet. The reason I'm hesitant about it is because nothing's come to me yet. But I mean, I don't know. Who knows? I might finish Dia in June, and then suddenly it's like, oh, I know the rest of the alphabet.
Epiphany. Yeah.
Epiphany, hopefully.
World needs more emotion intelligent books. There you go.
For children, there's plenty for adults. I was just reading the book by, where is his book? I think it's over there somewhere. By, I want to say it's Emotional Intelligence by David, starts with the G. I don't know his name. I'm terrible with names, but it's quite a good book. And I'm reading the theory behind it. And the theory is great, but for me, it's all about the application. So I am now shifting away from the intelligence side of things because a lot of people want to get into the brain and how it works. And I don't know that. I know the application though, and I know the real life, you know, using it and how to kind of give scenarios, give tips, and how to apply it to your everyday life. So I kind of like the emotional literacy route. But yeah, definitely emotional intelligence because people understand what it is and it should be in the curriculum.
Yes, and what I want to say on what you said before about writing more books and spreading that awareness is today I was watching an interview, and she's a YouTuber that I've been following for years. Her name is Lily Singh.
Oh yes, Lily. Yeah.
Yes.
I remember her back before she got her show and everything. Yeah.
Yes, because I've been following her since like she was like in Canada, and now she's like having her show and everything. And I was watching an interview she had with Jay Shetty.
Oh wow.
Yes, you need to watch that. It was good.
I will.
I was just looking through something. You know, sometimes it's like you need to see something. And she was talking towards the end of the interview, the last 15 minutes, and she was saying that she wants, obviously, she's starting like her own production company and this and that, and she wants to spread awareness for different topics. And it relates with what you are saying. That's why you need to go and see it, or at least the last 15 minutes, because she was saying she wants to do like animation, like emotions, like movie or whatever she's doing. And she read this book, which is about a princess that she doesn't want to be saved by the prince. She wants to be saved by the princess. And the thing is that the book is not around that. It's not it's about, oh, it's something normal. It's like, okay, like the story is not about that. It's there giving you that, that awareness and obviously informing children from a young age, but it's not, the whole story is not based around that though. And that's what she was saying, that there's like in our generation, because we are the same age and she's the same age, with like we're around 30, that when she was growing up and obviously being Indian and all that she didn't have anything to relate to. The only way she could relate to is through Bollywood movies. Like there was no books, there was nothing in Hollywood, there was no movies, animation, Disney, there was nothing she could relate. So the only way she could was through Bollywood. And that's what she was saying, that you need to spread awareness, whether it's through movies, through books, and obviously starting from a young age, like the book I just mentioned. And that's why I love what you're doing, because that's what you are doing, because you're spreading that awareness from a young age, because actually children can relate to. And when we were growing up, I never remember a book that had, like yours. There was no book that the children had a limb difference, that it was a child that was in a wheelchair. If it was, as we said, it was usually an evil person. And that's what we need. So you totally need to do a whole series of the alphabet.
Oh my goodness! I think the reason I'm being very coy about it is because I don't want to say it's going to be, and then there's loads of people asking me. It's part of the reason actually when I wrote my books, a lot of my friends were like, "Wait, when did you write children's books?" Like, I was very much quiet about it. I didn't want to share it with anybody. I didn't say anything. I mean, obviously my family knew, but I just didn't. I didn't want to over publicize it purely on the basis because I wanted to make sure I did it. And I didn't want anyone's input either, because the moment you say you're writing a children's book, you get a barrage of questions. and a lot of opinions, and that's absolutely fine. Don't get me wrong. Like I think that's beautiful that people actually care so much to share their opinion and want the best for me. But I needed complete silence in order to create. I didn't want anyone's input, and it, in some ways, I mean, from a marketing standpoint, that's a little bit dangerous because, you know, it's not like I was checking with the audience. I wasn't reading bits of it to the children. Before I was about to go publish, self-publish, I read it to 20 children, and it worked. but that's purely me going on, trusting myself with all my years of experience with children and saying, you know this, you know them better, like really well. And I don't know everything about them, still a lot to learn, but you know this, and this is what you do, and you can put it into a book. And it worked. And then I, you know, repeated it again, but for a different character, and then again. And so, yeah, I feel like it's something that it took a lot of self-assurance to be able to put it out without checking in, because a lot of the time, you know, we tend to hesitate and check with people. I think had I done that, it would have delayed it coming out. And I just wanted them there. Like, as you said, I just wanted the awareness there. I said, the people need this now more than ever. They don't need this after the pandemic, you know, after things return to whatever they return to. They don't need it, you know, in 10 years time. They need it today. Like, what is the fastest way I can get this out? And it was self-publishing. So yeah, then the rest is history.
Yes, the thing is that what I want to, sorry, because I'm thinking too many things, even though I haven't.
Fine.
What I would like you to say, which I heard it on the interview that you had with Beauty Mark, is the broccoli story.
Yes, that's hilarious.
You need to say this, okay? Because I love like the mentality and how to see things. Because I had a conversation with a friend lately, and I was like, look, I've got annoyed with this person, but I hate talking about it, but at the same time, it's annoying me. And then I'm like, you know, and it's like that. And I hate being like that because I want to be like, yes, let's go positive, no negative thoughts. Like if it's negative thoughts, you know, sometimes you need to vent to a friend though. But at the same time, I like, you know, your point of view, like why spend that energy? But I'll let you tell the story.
Yeah, no, I love it. This is becoming a thing. And then so basically what I was saying was that when it comes to children being bullied, and I had this girl, and she'd been bullied for quite a long time, I think from the age of 3.5, and I met her at age 5, I think 4.5, 5. And there was a girl, she kept having altercations with the school. So every time I would meet her after school and we'd walk home, because that's, by the way, that's a fantastic place to talk to children. If you want to work with kids, even if you're a shooter and you're very used to kind of a certain setting, if you can just walk home with a child and be there for pickup, you can catch them at that point where at the end of the day where they divulge a lot of what's happened. Because usually if you're in tutoring or if you're working in psychology, you tend to meet the child afterwards, and you miss out on that beautiful moment where they kind of, you know, you're walking, you're talking, things are happening, and you just get the raw emotion, you know. It's from parents, it's usually there before they go to sleep. They say that's a great time to catch kids when they share what they're feeling. So this little girl, she kept mentioning this particular person, and she was saying, you know, she's done this to me. And I wouldn't even, times I'd meet her, and before I even say, hi, how was your day? Or, you know, how are you? Or just even acknowledge her, she came out with a story, you know, straight away. It was like, it was bursting inside of her, and she needed to do it. And when I started putting the time context of these stories, I realized that it happened like in the morning. So for the entire day, this kid is holding on to this story, and then the entire walk home and then the session ends up being around this person. And then of course the mother finds out, and it becomes like a cycle, and then the story is regurgitated again and again and again, and it started becoming her narrative. Her narrative was, this is what I pay attention to. I thought, how can I make her aware of it without saying like, oh, okay, enough, stop talking about it, or, you know, without allowing her to feel, because I wanted her to feel that she was being understood, that her feelings were valid, because it's very easy to dismiss that point. I didn't want to do that. So I said, okay, let me bring her attention to it. Just reflect back the way she is, you know? So when she came back one day, I said, oh, newsflash, you're talking about da, da, da. So what's the I held like a fake microphone to her. I was like, what's the latest news with so-and-so today? And she was a little bit taken back, and then she laughed, and then she said, well, Mina, today we so and so did this to me. So that kind of playful element of switching the narrative a little bit, giving her a little bit of control over it, as opposed to something that I have to tell you about and I'm really upset. It's okay, I'm going to play act it, which straight away detaches you from it, right? And then I started saying to her, I was like, how can it's for her to have a different perception, because it was all perception based. You know, I'm sure this kid was doing things, but the amount of energy she was spending on regurgitating what happened, and even at the weekend talking about it, and then in the half term, and then days when she wasn't even at school and this had still had stories about her, I needed to bring her attention. I thought, for kids, how do you do this? So it came to my mind to use something they dislike already. So I said to her one day, I said, well, you know, what sort of, like, what's your food that you don't like? She goes, oh, I hate broccoli. Oh, you don't like broccoli? Okay, cool. So what, like, when you come from school and I ask you, like, what you had for like lunch today, would you, if you had broccoli, would you be like, oh yeah, I had broccoli and it was really gross, and da da da? Would you give me like a whole like breakdown of broccoli? She said, no, I most probably wouldn't even mention it. And I said, well, why is that? She was, I don't like it. Why would I talk about it if I don't like it? And I just went, ah. Well, interesting thing. So if broccoli is something that you don't like and you wouldn't talk about it all the time, and it's not nice talking about it, because actually talking about it makes you like feel nauseous, because it's like really, ugh, I don't like it. Why are you talking about someone who makes you feel a certain way, that who, even when she's not there, because I said I brought her attention to her body. I said, how do you feel in your tummy? How do you feel in your head? I feel like my tummy's like twisting. I feel like my head's hot. She's having all this power over you because you're telling me stories about her again and again and again. Now, what I wanted to make clear to her was that it's fine to say the story once or twice, just to kind of offload, but then to continue repeat like that. So we kind of broke it down to, okay, so from the time when I picked her up to when she got to the house, that was the time to divulge everything. And it's about a 15-20 minute walk. So that's plenty of time to talk about everything. And then after that, she had to be mindful of when she was going to say it. And make the choice. I'm going to say this. I'm about to start talking about what my equivalent of broccoli is. Why am I doing that? And then she catch herself. And there was a couple of times where she still needed to say it, but it's a habitual way of dealing with things. So she kind of, oh, I'm about to talk about broccoli. And then it became fun as well. I'm like, are you about to tell me another story about broccoli? And she's like, oh no, of course not. And then eventually, after that, kind of these different ways of tackling it. So giving back her power, realizing how she was giving this other child, same age as her, same abilities as her, you know, it wasn't anyone who needed to be put on a pedestal. And the reason I say pedestal is, you're aware of Harry Potter, am I right?
Yeah.
Yes. So one day because just at the peak of when things are happening, she said, this girl, she looked at me with a look of menace and vengeance. And I was like, are you talking about Voldemort? Are you talking about another like 5-year-old girl?
Yeah.
And then she started laughing again, because it's the power of the imagination, especially children who are very, and I don't want to say the word sensitive, very in tune with other people. They pick up on things, and for them, everything is exaggerated in a beautiful way, because they're the ones who are beautiful artists. They're the ones who see the world in ways we should. When they feel a really beautiful emotion, they feel it, and your heart feels them. But when they feel a very negative emotion, the world knows too, and it's very strong. So for her to, just going on a sidetrack, so she had that level of, you know, anguish towards this person, and we kept breaking it down with the whole broccoli and making it all kind of reframing the narrative that this is just another kid, it's not some super villain, it's not Voldemort. And then we said, he who shall not be named, she who shall not be named, we joked about it as well. It's lightening it up. Yeah. And then eventually one day she came home and we were walking along, and I was thinking, oh, I haven't heard about broccoli yet. Okay, interesting. I'm just kind of side note. And it's tempting at that point as well, by the way, just for parents and people who work with kids to be like, so did anything happen with so-and-so today? No. The kid will tell you. There. The kid will tell you. Unless there's something going on in their behavior and they're showing a difference in behavior and they're not opening up, yes, prompt them. But if they are having an issue with over opening up, in the sense that they keep talking about it and they keep paying attention to the same thing, don't prompt them just to be like, oh, is there nothing going on? So we went all the way home, and then I finished my session with her, and I said, by the way, oh no, she came out with it. It wasn't me who said it. That was a beautiful thing. She said to me, oh, by the way, Amina, you know so and so? I said, yeah. well, what about her? She goes, well, we're friends now. And I said, well, what? And she goes, well, I was sitting on the bench and then she came to me and I just thought she's just a kid like me. And then I just talked to her like she was like another kid. And then we just ended up like playing and then it was fine. And I was like, oh. But I needed to lead her to that point, and I looked at the way I led her there, and it is different from most children. It's not the broccoli story can be applied to any child, but it's a tool worth using. It's a way of reframing that allows the child to take back their power, take back their inner power, to realize that they always have a choice when it comes to a bully situation. They don't need to engage in the way that they're used to doing, or if it doesn't work they can engage in a different way. It doesn't have to become their narrative, it doesn't have to become their life story, being the shy or bullied child. So yeah, that's the broccoli story, the long extended version. With all the outtakes.
I was like, that's so good. Like, if you think of it in such a simple way, like, you don't sit and talk about things you don't like. So why do we do it with people? Like, it's such a good example for not just for children, for us also. Because I was thinking about it, as I said to you, I'm like, because if I get annoyed with someone at work or something, and I'm like, why are you talking about it? Like, you've left work, like, nothing crazy has happened that you have to report. So, just leave it. Like, there's no point of spending so much energy for
Because I
that.
think it's for adults as well, because we need to self-talk. So it's like, when I do that, I notice something's bugging me and I feel it in my body, because when you're so used to feeling in a better state, in a good state, your state of flow, when you feel a bad feeling, it becomes really uncomfortable and you're not comfortable with that way of being. So for me, it really triggers me straight away and I'm like, oh, hold on, I can feel it and I can feel the emotions coming. And what I remind myself at that point is that this is temporary. Whatever I'm feeling now, this anguish or upset or whatever it might be, it's a wave, it's coming, and there's going to be an end to it. Because another thing that we find that can hold us in the place for a lot longer, in that place of negativity, is, when is this going to end? Is this ever going to end? That there's no time limit, that I'm going to feel. We start projecting to the future, and we do this with kids too. We project to the future that tomorrow, I can't be feeling like this tomorrow. I've got a big interview. Oh, I've got to be there for the kids, and I've got to get it together. Things that are not happening right now, things that are going to happen in a couple of hours or tomorrow, and we're not giving ourselves the space for change, because we don't know. We're assuming that we're going to still have that feeling in the future. We're projecting to the future. The same with the child who shows inconvenient behavior, as opposed to using the word naughty, I would say inconvenient. When the child shows inconvenient behavior, they don't go to sleep or something, you say, and it happens more than once, the parent might say, oh God, I need to fix this, because I can't have a kid who, when he's a teenager, be crawling into bed with me and saying, mommy, I can't sleep. We go like this kid just doesn't sleep for like 2 days, 3 days, maybe a week, maybe 2 months. But now we're already going to, this kid is like 7 and we're going 10 years later. I'm sorry, but as much as we like to feel this, we don't have crystal balls. Yeah. we can't even, with the bad stuff, we can't project it to the future, and with the good stuff too, So it's a sense of control that we need to have, that I can't control the situation now. So I'm going to try and put the fire underneath me and put myself in such a state of anxiety that, not just take it for the situation of what it is, because it's uncomfortable, but I'm going to project it into the future as well. And that's quite detrimental too. So I've realized that whatever I'm feeling, if I'm having a moment, if I've been to the gym 7 times and then that week, and then the new week I end up having cake for breakfast, I'm like, it's just for today. It's just for today. And then you don't feel guilty. You don't feel that kind of, you're eating the cake and you're like, oh God, I shouldn't be doing this. I'm going to regret this later, because you're making it worse. You're not even enjoying it.
Yes, I agree with that. I agree so much with that, especially with what you're saying, because I've put myself now this week to start the gym. Okay.
Well done. Yay.
That's what I was watching the interview with Jay Shetty and everything. I was like, put something so you don't know what you're doing. You're just watching the interview and like, but I have to do it because like I have an issue with my back. So I'm like, okay, you're gonna pressure issue because it's a health issue. And then like I want to eat, for example, a chocolate, and I'm like, oh, but I really want it. I think you're putting yourself, like, you're thinking about it like 30 minutes. Like, should I eat it? Should I not eat it? And yes, how many calories? And then you eat it, and then you regret it after. And it's like,
And then it's like a negative cycle. And I'm saying, and I'm saying this, and sorry to interrupt you, because I can see you're flowing there.
yeah.
It's coming from someone, like, I used to binge eat quite a lot. That's one of the things that I've had to like deal with when I was growing up, and like inner child wise, that my inner child, oh my goodness, it's like I saw a quote and it was beautiful. It was something like along the lines of, does anyone have a appetite like a child who's been left alone at a birthday party? It's like, oh, what can I eat? Because it was something, as I was growing up, we ate quite healthy in my family. We didn't have a lot of sweets in the household, especially for my sister. There's a lot of links between sugar and hyperactivity with most children, let alone a child who has autism. And the gluten-free, casein-free. So there's a lot of inhibitions in the household, and we never really ordered in. We went out for meals, but we never like ordered in at McDonald's and stuff. So this type of thing was like the forbidden land of food. So when I went to university, I mean, I'm my own boss, and I just went wild, like, cake, sausage roll, all the things that I say cake because cake is the main thing that my mind goes to, but donuts, like things that I don't know, just because when you're at a buffet and you usually have like fruit for breakfast, right? But then you go to a buffet and you have like everything. You eat cheese, you eat melon, you eat, I don't know, you eat like a full like day's worth of meals just because it's on offer. And so that's exactly. And so it's that side of things that I feel like it's compounded, because you're already, you're given all this amazing like choice. You go wild with it. Then afterwards you say, okay, I don't feel great, I've eaten a little bit too much. But then that's it. That's where it should stop. But then we start that, oh my God, I've eaten this, and oh, I feel so full, and oh my goodness, it's going to put me back on my diet. And it just becomes this whole cycle. And then we take it into the next day, like, well, yesterday I didn't do very well. Then you weigh yourself, which by the way is like the worst thing. You weigh yourself, and of course you're heavier, because you want to stick the knife in and twist it. So you weigh yourself and you're like, oh, put on half a kilo or a kilo, and then you're like, well, I've already started down this road, so I'll have the ice cream, and I'll have that, and then it just becomes, and then that's why when we have that moment of, I'm gonna have a little bit of chocolate, your mind is like, the kind of the little inner child is like, but it's going to taste really good. And then there's like the adult side who wants to look good and feel good. You're like, yeah, but that's a slippery slope. Just one piece of chocolate and that's it. And so, yeah, it's being aware that, as I said, for the moment, which is, I'm going to eat this now. I'm going to make different choices tomorrow. I'm going to make different choices later for dinner. This does not mean that because I eat this, I am X, Y, and Z, or this is going to define my entire like weight loss journey or whatever, and we do that. And so that's, I think you were saying, you're inspired to go to the gym. And when did you watch this, and when are you going to the gym so I can hold you accountable?
No, but what you're saying, like, I totally agree with that, because I've done that pattern. I've like ate something at work, which I grew up the way you grew up, that no takeaway. It would be like, yeah, we will go out for like a dinner or something. We didn't really have sweets stuff, but I was fine with that because I actually liked eating vegetables and fruit. Like, so I didn't have that issue. But then, like in UK, there's so many like things that
you're like, I'm in the UK, I want to be part of the culture, I want to try it, and oh, there's a patisserie here, and
I know, but yeah, so I would be at work and then I would eat something which is, I don't know, like something easy. And then I'm like, oh yeah, but since I had this, like maybe just eat something in the evening, and then tomorrow we will see. And then you just lose it. And then it's like a week of that. Then you end up feeling bad with yourself, and it's bad. I mean, yes, we all do it, but it's, as you said, like, eat the cake, the piece of cake or whatever you want to eat. Enjoy it, like actually enjoy what you're eating instead of crying while eating it. Yeah.
I know. I mean, we laugh, but it's true. Like, yes, I think I actually have done that,
Yes, like enjoy the moment with the cake. And then, just in the evening, like eat something healthy, like eat a fruit salad or just a salad or whatever. Like, it doesn't have to be a thing of a roller coaster. Like, it's fine.
And it's
But
being that present moment of it. Don't even need to plan your next meal, because we're eating that, planning our next meal, saying, I'm going to make up for this kind of guilty feeling. But just enjoying it there and then. So I've had this, I've eaten it now, or I felt this, I felt it now. That's it. That's it. I don't need to pay it too much attention. I don't need to, because then it becomes the bully. It becomes our own mind becomes a bully. We empower that voice that's like, whoa, you shouldn't have had that. And it becomes the bully. And then it becomes even stronger. So my way of dealing with it over the years has been a lot of work working with a therapist, because I have an amazing therapist and she's helped me connect with my inner child so much. I needed to do that work to be able to work with children, because children trigger you and it's not their fault, and therefore you need to work on yourself. And every time I get triggered, I'm like, yes, okay, something else to work on. Amazing. Call my therapist. Hi. But when it comes to food, yeah, the whole relationship with the food, it's something that from childhood, and I'm so glad that you resonate with that when it comes with your family, because food was sitting around. It was a whole, what will we eat today? We weren't the type of family like we just rustle up something out of the fridge. It was, okay, dinner's going to be at X time, make sure you're at the table. Did I have a choice in what I wanted to eat? I think that actually kind of made a difference to me as well. Had I been able to give some input, because my mum would ask me like, oh, what would you like for dinner? And it was really like, that was lovely, and her food is amazing, my father's food is amazing. But it was that kind of, but sometimes I didn't fancy eating that. And there wasn't like, okay, well, I was old enough to cook something for myself, and it wasn't like my parents were going to go and cook something else. So I kind of didn't have that choice aspect, and I think that's what came into play a lot as well. When I did have the choice, I was overwhelmed with it. But then the good habits of, we eat together as a family. There is no need to like secretly eat or hide or in front of the TV or with a device, which happens a lot now. And it's hard. It's hard for parents. I understand, because, you want to go out to restaurants, you want to go out and enjoy yourself. And sometimes, being present with your child or trying to deal with something, a device is a quick fix to help them while they're eating. But the long-term effects, I mean, for that one moment, depending on how dependent they become on it, but for that one moment, it works. But if you were to just go into that feeling, if you were to, practice the self-awareness, the self-love, everything, you could communicate and connect with them that you don't need to get a piece of technology in order to keep them occupied, So that was a complete tangent, but...
No, I agree so much on what you're saying about that, because I even tell of my friends, like if we're out and it's always let's do this, or they're texting or they're doing something else, which I mean we all do that, okay?
Yeah.
But I hate it. Like I would tell them off. If I got my friends, they would be like, oh, tells us all the time. Like I hate it, because you're not in the moment, first of all. I mean,
Yeah.
yes, we all do the stories on Instagram with the drinks and this and that. Like, okay.
No, cheers.
Yeah. You need to do the other way around. That's how it works now. But yes, okay, I get that. Like even I would do it, but be in the moment, and that's what I hate. Like if I ever have like children of my own, that's the one thing that I don't want to do. Like give them a device, because I didn't grow up like that, and it was amazing. Like I loved it. The way I grew up, I'm so grateful to my parents for that. And I mean, yeah, obviously it was a different time and age and all that, but it's a choice. No one's making you give your children phones and devices and iPods or whatever they call them stuff. It's a choice.
This is true. Yeah.
Yes, because I understand that, obviously it's a thing nowadays. Like everyone has like 10-year-olds with iPhones and all that. But it's not like you have to. No one's making you. And as you said, it's something that's easy, because, if your child is screaming its head off and you give him a phone, he's going to be like, okay, yeah, I will sit and play with my phone, and that's, you have peace and quiet.
So I had this opinion very strongly as well, and this is why I say, even though people classify me as an expert, and I say expert like this because expert is very loaded, it means that I know everything, and I don't know everything to know about the kids. The reason I know that is because I can say that I know that I don't know everything with children is because every day, every time I work with a kid, I learn something new. And the moment that I feel like I know everything, they teach me something else. So because of that, it's really important as well when it comes with parents that I realized it's easy to say, look, you shouldn't do this. As you said, it's a choice to give them the device. But we have different pressures now that we didn't have before. When our parents were growing up and they had us, in terms of just the way things costed, the way society was, there was a lot more community. Now, a lot of the parents I work with, they don't have their families around with them. You know, they are literally just themselves, in a new country with a new school system they've never worked with, and they just need that moment of relief. Whereas before, we always kind of stayed, you know, we'd travel around the world, but we would be able to bring family with us and families would be extended. There wasn't as much moving around as there was before, you know, as there is now. So the context of that really is, you know, I can't cope with this. I don't have the, you know, they say it takes a village to raise a child. They don't have that village. They don't have that community. So that's one aspect of things. The other aspect is that the pressures they put on themselves to, you know, before, if a child acted out in public or showed inconvenient behavior, it would be, I mean, I guess because, you know, the number of restaurants, the places, the opportunities for a child to do that were less so, because there wasn't all these kind of events and all these things. Like, there'll be a lot more family orientated, child friendly, so that if a child had an issue, it would be an environment where there was other children who had issues too and had inconvenient behavior, and it would be accepted, you know, and then someone from the community would help calm them, and you weren't on your own. But now there's a lot of judgment. There was a lot more judgment that there wasn't before, and a lot of, you know, people giving their opinion. And, you know, my mum, I never heard of this when I was growing up, when my mum was growing up. But, you know, now I see people who feel like there's a child screaming in the supermarket and they have the audacity to say to the mother, control your child, you know, or they try and parent other people's children. And it's like, and then they're the same people who, when they give the child a device, they're saying, oh, look at what a bad parent this person is. They can't win. So parents are constantly dealing with being judged, by themselves first and foremost. So they're constantly thinking, am I doing enough? Am I helping my child the way I can? Am I being the best I can? And then on top of that, when their inner voice is quiet, you get Deirdre and her coming along, who's saying hello, giving this kind of opinion that's unwanted. You get the mother-in-law who's opinionated, yeah, that classic one, and especially depending on what culture you're from. And so it's really hard. And I think the worst thing at this particular point in life is that we see it looking really easy on Instagram and on TikTok and all these different platforms. They make it look amazing. They have this, like, they take a video for, like, you know, 10 minutes, or, you know, they take a clip and they look immaculate, you know, the child's playing there, the child responds, is beautiful, and everyone's like, oh, I want one of those, that's amazing, look, they're holding it, and parenting goals. And yes, it is partly that, but I would say about 70% of it really is hard, is not something that, you know, is shown. And that's why, until I have my own children, I can only show that kind of side of things when I mess up. So when I mess up and I do the whole reel on it, I rather show my bloopers than show what I'm actually trying to talk about, because I just want to say, look, these things happen. I'm not going to give you the edited version of myself. And we get the edited versions of parenting, of family life, and then we compare it to, we have the device, we compare it to our child, and we're like, but this kid who is like age 2 can play the violin, and you can't even like lift a stick and hit a drum. You know, it's that comparison that's really dangerous, you know, and that expectance of what reality should be, when actually it's not reality. It's a virtual world. And that's, you know, you can, the virtual version of yourself you can compare, but not the real version. That's something that's really difficult. So that's why I said, when it comes to giving children devices, it's different pressures, you know. I think honestly there's different pressures, different ways of being. The judgment is hard. And the biggest pressure on parents, one of my very good friends was just saying the other day, as a woman as well, you know, now that as women we have careers and that we are killing it, we're doing a really good job, right? But then the other side of things is to be a really good mom as well, to balance it, and then also to be a great wife or to be a great partner. And it's a lot. So until we find the balance, there are going to be some easy ways, which are like the device, the kind of something to distract the child.
No, I agree, because even if you don't have children, the pressure you get, as you said, even if you're just a woman, it's, oh, you need to be perfect at your job. You need your family to be perfect. You need to be, as you said, a good partner, a good, like, you have to have everything, tick the boxes.
Mm-hmm.
And even if, you don't want that side, because I was watching an interview the other day of, you shouldn't judge women that they don't want children, because then you judge about, you judge from that also. But it's, even if you're at work, it's, you get judged just because you're a woman for something else. And obviously that doesn't only go for women, it goes also for men, for other things. And obviously, yes, social media doesn't help at all, because
Because
you see,
you find
you see
yourself
the
in someone
perfect,
else.
flawless, yes. And obviously, as you said, you compare and everything, which, I mean, we all do it. I would do it. But I think I've managed to get that balance of, like, I know what happens at the other side. But, obviously for younger ages, that's not easy. And
Well, they don't seek it, if as adults, and this is the $1 million question as well, how do I get my child, like, how do I protect my child against the internet? How do I protect my child against social media? We're still figuring that out as adults. So how are we going to help children navigate it? Like, we still need to figure out ourselves. We're the ones who are still suffering from it and unable to regulate ourselves from it, let alone expecting to control a child's input of it. So I always say with parents, start with yourself. How do you use a device? How are you responding to your child? Does your child see you endlessly scrolling through TikTok? Does your child see you doing this? And if they do, fine, no judgment, but tell them what you're doing. Explain why you're doing it. And I'm not saying in a way like, why are you spending your time doing this? Not at all. It's more like, I feel like I've had a really long day at work. I just want to have a good laugh. I'm going to scroll through TikTok. Mind blown. Like that whole scenario is basically saying, like, I've stressed something out, like something's like upset me, and I need a way to cope. I need a way to, like, unwind, and this is why I'm doing it. And explain it to the kids, and then say, do you want to come and watch with me? Obviously, if it's appropriate, because sometimes they can be inappropriate. And then that's it. And then you've connected. And it's, but they get very defensive sometimes, and we get defensive, like, oh no, but I don't want to have to explain to my child, and I shouldn't be doing it in the first place. But you are, and it's okay. Your child doesn't need to see you as a perfect, like, version. Actually, if they see your imperfections and they see how you handle it and how honest you are with it, you're going to do them way more, like, it's not advantage, to give them way more help than however many years of therapy they may need when they're older.
Don't tell me about
it.
Yes, I agree with that. But obviously, yes, growing up, you need to be, the parents always want the best for the child. But as you said, especially if something real, then obviously, the fake perfect version. Our time has run out, though.
How long have you been speaking for?
We have 1 hour.
No,
yes,
my goodness, it went like this.
I know. That's why we need to do another live.
Of course.
Once, look what we do. Okay, you're alive now. You can't say no because it's live. Okay.
Pledge my allegiance on TikTok, not TikTok, on Instagram, on all the platforms.
Yes, once all the books are out. I mean, the 4, because we are expecting more to come.
Because we only have the 3. All I've done is just 3, just 3. That's it, So once the 4th one comes out, then she'll give me the time of day.
We have another live. I think that's a good deal.
I agree. I virtually shake hands with you and say yes, 100%. You've seen it here. She's gonna hold me to it. If I say to her I'm busy, she's gonna send me the little clip saying yes, I agree to it. Harass me.
Certainly. We have to, because there's so much things that you can learn through children, obviously, because it's your job also, and you're publishing books about it. So we are totally gonna have another live. So thank you so much for today. It was amazing. As you said, time went like, I loved it.
I'm glad you were paying attention to time, because I was just thinking, it's been like half an hour. I haven't even looked at the clock. So
I just looked and I was like, oh my god, Instagram is gonna shut me down. Because it does obviously after an hour. And as I said, we have this book, the first one, and I will do a giveaway. Thanks to Maria for giving me that word, because I didn't remember. Obviously, for the next days I will be uploading it, and tagging you so you will see it. And we're having another live probably during summer. I'm guessing. You said it probably will come out in June. So
It's going to
see.
come out in June. Yeah, yeah. Great. Hold me to that.
Great.
Have a
Thank you
great
so
weekend.
much. You
And
too.
thank you so much
Thank
for having
you.
me.
Bye.
Bye.